Most of you guys have no enemy. You have no enemy. Or you have an enemy which is somebody else. You're looking at Justin Bieber or Drake or some shit. That's not going to motivate you. That's pointless. It's not going to help you. Or you have no enemy at all. You have a support structure around you and you have people say, oh, you're great just the way you are. You know, you're beautiful just the way you are. And you're sitting there and living in your little comfort zone like a little bullshit. Put this enemy together from start to finish. If you've done this correctly, then what you should be doing by now is thinking of him permanently. Every single time you go to the gym and you haven't done that one extra rep, he did. Every single time if you don't feel like doing something, you think, yeah, but he would do it. If you truly constructed him the way you should, he should be crossing your mind with every single thing you do. And this is why it's important to develop an ego. This is lesson 2, the Iron Mind course, is to develop an ego. Egos are extremely important. Egos have always existed. Throughout ancient history, men, kings, went to war and millions of people died because someone insulted him, because of his ego. Egos are a natural human thing and they're extremely important. And the modern world tells men to not have an ego. And they do that because it makes you weak and easy to control. You can only have an iron mind if you are so sure of yourself, so egotistical that nobody can break it. So an ego is extremely important. Now, for the first lesson, we built your enemy, and we built this perfect person you're going to be battling against. And there's a very specific reason we did it based on a version of you. One, because it shows who you could be. But the other reason is also because if your ego is based around beating this person, you get to go through life and be a nice guy to everyone else. People say don't have an ego because they think that if they give you an ego or you have an ego, you're going to be egotistical to the people you meet. I'm a nice guy to everyone I meet because they're not my enemy. I'm not combating against them. I'm a nice guy to every person. I'm a nice guy to every woman. I say please and thank you. I'm a nice person. But I do have a massive ego. But my ego comes into play when I'm fighting against my enemy. Listen, did you f*** your wife yesterday? Maybe you did. So imagine this guy f***ed your wife. He would have f***ed her better than you did. And this should inspire your ego. The person you're battling against is beating you. And this person is who you could be. That's what's the most annoying thing about it. This person's outlifting you in the gym. They're making more money. They're f***ing their wife better. They've got more girls. They're rolling around a nicer car. This could be you, but it's not you. Only because you don't have the motivation to do what this individual does. Nothing to do with genetics, nothing to do with luck. This person is you and they're beating you. And this should inspire your ego. Most people's egos work against them. And the way it works against them is they feel entitled. They wake up and they think, oh, I deserve a nice car. I'm a special person. I deserve a nice car. And then when they don't get a nice car, they get disheartened and annoyed. That is not the right way to use an ego. An ego should be used as in, I deserve a nice car, so I'm going to go get one. That's an ego. So this person who you've built, your enemy, he has a nice car because he has worked harder than you have. So he has a nice car and you don't have one. Whose fault is that? There should be no reason, no excuse for you to not do everything that you believe you need to do to be the best person you can be if you've properly created this enemy. You've looked at this list, 25 to 30 points long of everything this guy does. And you should look at that list and think, this is who I'm competing against. I need to start getting my shit together. And your ego should stop you from wanting to lose. Otherwise, day after day after day, you are losing to this individual. This individual is beating you day after day after day. You can't let that happen. Your ego is extremely important. And you only have one person you're competing against. And it's the person you created, which is nothing more than a better version of yourself. So day by day, you're losing this battle. And that should make you uncomfortable. It should make you nervous. It should make you anxious. So you start to feel that way, because this is the truth. If you've truly imagined who your enemy is, and you truly imagine them beating you, you should not be able to relax. Everything compounds. What most people don't understand is they think that life just changed overnight. Everything compounds. People say to me, oh, Tate, how did you become successful? I can't tell you the one thing that made me successful. I was always driven, motivated. I understood how to make good connections. I looked after the people who looked after me. I always knew what the right thing to do was. I didn't drink for many years of my life. I didn't do this. I didn't do that. But I did do this. And it all comes together to success. It's not about one thing. A lot of people go through life with a very average attitude to life and they wait for their one big break. Yeah, maybe you'll get it, but that's not the reality. If you're hoping for a big break, you may as well just keep buying the lottery tickets. You have to build your big break. And you're going to do that with 1,000 tiny victories. It's a change of mindset that's going to allow you to put together 1,000 tiny victories. And the change of mindset is simply understanding that there's a version of you that exists somewhere in the multiverse, which is much better than you are right now. They have the same start, the same genetic composition, but they are destroying you in every measurable metric purely because they don't get lazy, don't get tired, don't watch TV, don't waste their time. They have an iron mind. And that person is going to become you now. That is who you are fighting against.
All of our previous lessons were about creating enemies and understanding that you have to fight a battle against the enemy you create and how difficult life can be. And in this lesson, we're going to do something that's a little bit more positive so you can smile. And what we're going to do is we're going to talk about gratitude. I have learned the hard way that it is impossible to be grateful for things that you have in abundance. Everybody knows this. I'm stating the obvious here. Everyone talks about how if you were born a millionaire kid, you wouldn't appreciate money. It's absolutely the same with absolutely everything else. And no matter how hard you try, and check yourself and appreciate your current situation, you're never going to appreciate it if you have it in abundance. The easiest way to be grateful for your life and appreciate things is to self-censor. Now, this takes self-control, but we've already discussed how your enemy has self-control. And how if you're going to compete against him, you're going to need self-control. So for this reason, you now have self-control. I'm going to tell you something. By reducing your time spent or money spent or energy spent on the things you like, not only do you become a more productive worker and you get more stuff done, but two, you appreciate those things more and you end up genuinely happier. So I'll give you some examples. It's a sunny day today. On sunny days, I like driving my Lamborghini around and showing off. And sometimes when I really feel like driving it, I don't allow myself. I'll take a bike and I'll go pedal my bike instead, or I'll train extra hours in the gym, or I'll do some work. So when I really want to drive it, even though I have the time to drive it, even though I could drive it, I do not drive it. And the reason I do that is I deliberately prevent myself from doing something I want. So when I get back in that car the next day or a couple days later, I appreciate it. If I drove the car anytime I wanted to, I might still even like it, I might still enjoy it, but I will never appreciate it. Now when I get in that car, I appreciate my car. And that's because I stop myself from using it as often as I want to use it. Humans were never built for the abundance we live in today. We live in an abundance which we were never designed to have. We were designed to barely scrape enough calories from the surroundings to survive and sit around in the dirt wishing for more than what we had. We were not designed to be able to get food anytime we wanted. That's why people are fat. To get satisfaction and entertainment anytime we wanted. That's why people can't pay attention anymore. The human mind is not evolved to live the life we're living. So you have two choices. You either cave to that completely and you give in to consumerism and you end up obese and have attention deficit disorder because you're too busy watching YouTube videos to concentrate on anything important. Or you censor yourself and you prevent yourself from having as much as you want, and that's how you build an iron mindset. So I'm going to give you a few examples of things you can do, because now I know not all of you have Lamborghinis. That was a pretty first world example, but I'll give you some other examples of things that I have done. Now, I actually developed this and learned this tactic when I was fighting, because fighting makes you censor yourself. When you're training for a fight, you can't drink alcohol. You have to eat correctly. You have to sleep correctly. So when my fight camp would be over, the idea of staying up late and having a beer and eating an ice cream was amazing. To most people, that's every day and they don't give a shit. But to me, the idea of just cracking open a beer and drinking it and not thinking about it as anything other than, oh, I want a beer. When I did that after a fight camp, I was smiling ear to ear, genuinely, because I hadn't touched alcohol for 8 weeks. So by preventing myself from having alcohol, not only was I more grateful in the end, like people had beer all the time, that doesn't make them happy, it's just something they do. Not only was I more grateful in the end, not only was I happier, I was also in better physical condition. I also didn't spend money on beer. And this is the exact point. If you restrict yourself from the things you want, not only do you enjoy them more in the end, not only do you end up happier, you usually end up in better physical and financial shape for it. So there's a whole bunch of stuff you do right now that you enjoy. Everyone has things they enjoy, and that's fine. You absolutely should have things you enjoy. You've made your list of your enemy. Obviously, he's a machine. He's a robot. He doesn't waste much time, but we're all humans. You're competing with him, but there's still some things you enjoy which aren't completely essential. You need to learn to restrict those things or delay those things so that you appreciate them more. Happiness and gratefulness are basically the same thing. If you're grateful for what you have, you're going to be a pretty happy person. And a happy mind is an iron mind. The idea of being a robot and being, I've got an iron mind, nothing affects me, that's not a good life. A good life is a happy person who, when the struggles of life come, they can just glide over the bumps. That's the kind of person you want to be. And you're going to do that by making yourself more grateful, and you're going to make yourself more grateful through scarcity.